All right, let's get cooking. Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to join us. And as always, we welcome any suggestions, feedback, comments, and criticisms, which improves the quality of our program, which ultimately improves your listening experience. Before we get started, we want to send all of you our thank you for your support. Again, people are slowly but surely finding out about who we are and what we do. They enjoy and respect the passion with which we speak, and we do this because we love it. And as we continue to build our listening army to eventually take over the world, concluding 2021 Hard Knocks edition featuring the Dallas Cowboys. We didn't want to wait too long reviewing this program like we did week 4. So we're going to jump right into it, as well as some thoughts about week 1. We open up with John Fossil, whatever the Fossil coach that's on the team, excuse me for that, was talking about players and possible roster cuts before we get to the opening credits. We go to Azure Camaro, who's included in that, where showing, and it was really highlighted in these meetings with these players who are on the bubble, how sometimes effort, especially on special teams, can make a difference or decide whether you remain on the team or not. And Azure Camaro definitely has a lot of potential that the coaches see, and he liked his efforts. It is something that the assistant coach was really trying to bring to light about effort, about not giving up on plays, and always giving it your all. So that was kind of a cool thing to see. Next, we get to Linus from the Charlie Brown cartoons, a.k.a. Micah Parsons, who walked inside of the defensive, looks like the linebackers meeting, with his blanket. If you guys don't know who Linus is, which is one of Charlie Brown's best friends, it's the kid who always has the blanket with him because it makes him comfortable. And apparently this is not the first time that Micah Parsons has had his trusty blanket with him, as other players kind of tease him about it. What I cracked up is this grown man is walking around this whatever expensive practice facility and walking around in his blanket to sit in the meeting. First, I'd have like, take the damn blanket off. But when you're a number 1 draft pick and you have high praise coming out of Penn State, I guess you can get away with that. Then we get a surprise of the show from future Hall of Famer, and I could even make an argument first ballot Hall of Famer, former Dallas Cowboy, all-time Dallas Cowboys sacks leader, and part of Chin Check Radio's greatest all-time Cowboys defensive player, DeMarcus Ware, and was going through drills with Micah Parsons, clearly showing Micah Parsons some pass rush techniques. DeMarcus Ware even talked about learning techniques from Bill Parcells, who, if you don't know, he was drafted by Parcells in the first round in 2005. I believe he was picked number 11 after the dismal season in 2004. Marcus Spears was the other player drafted in the first round. So Parcells having to reconstruct and build up a defense that, quite frankly, I thought he helped sabotage. But trying to build a defense, saw a Lawrence Taylor type player in that hybrid outside linebacker that can rush the passer, dropping pass coverage, and he's also good playing the run. And I think DeMarcus Ware definitely fit that mold. Again, I'm not saying he is Lawrence Taylor, but he fit the mold of that Bill Parcells prototype of an outside linebacker who can definitely make plays. So if you guys haven't watched DeMarcus Ware, especially during the prime of his career, this guy definitely was the truth. It's unfortunate he didn't have a lot of postseason success with the Cowboys, but he moved on, won a ring with the Denver Broncos. So I was definitely happy to see DeMarcus Ware. Always was a stand-up guy. Definitely showing Micah Parsons some techniques, and I thought that Micah Parsons was definitely receptive to it. Of course, being coached by a future Hall of Famer, I believe it brings instant credibility. And it's something that I was impressed with Micah Parsons, who listened and really tried to really implement those techniques that he was being taught. So I thought it was a good thing, but definitely a nice surprise to see DeMarcus Ware. He was telling Micah Parsons how he is going to be picked on by Tom Brady, how once Tom Brady had picked on him, and I definitely remember that game had he played in 2007 where both teams were undefeated. The Patriots went to the Super Bowl that year. The Cowboys, well, we know what happened in 2007. And just showing how Brady likes to play mind games, especially with younger players. So there's something that I like, the fact that Micah Parsons had a good attitude. He listened, learned, and he seemed to be up to the challenge playing against Tom Brady in Week 1. You hear the defensive line coach telling the players that they're really going to have to set the tone against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I definitely agree with that statement. Again, this is a defense that has a lot of question marks on them, even with the addition of a Micah Parsons, even with the addition of all these young players. Still a lot of question marks on defense. Neville Gallimore is out. So what will Randy Gregory do? Will he have a bounce back year? Will he actually stay on the field and not have any more off the field problems? DeMarcus Lawrence, am I going to get some bang for the buck? So this is something that, and I agree with the defensive line coach. I guess I forget the guy's name. It's Aiden Diggs, and he definitely was really trying to really drive home the point that they're going to set the tone. And I agree with that because we know the way to Tom Brady in defeating Tom Brady is having a dominant defensive line. If your defensive line can hold up with 4 guys, maybe 5 guys, and really get pressure in Brady's face, especially, yes, I know he's 40-some years old, but 43 is slower than 23. So if you can get pressure in Brady's face, now you have a game. And I like the fact that the defensive line coach is really trying to press the issue and have these players understand that they need to control the trenches and the line of scrimmage. So I was definitely very impressed by that. We now get to roster cuts, or a meeting about roster cuts, with Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and Will McClay, who was the vice president of player personnel. Now, a lot of guys don't know about Will McClay, but he actually is a good talent scout. He definitely has picked a lot of players that the Cowboys have had over the years. To me, even though Jerry is the overwhelming, seems to be omnipresent, figure, but I think Will McClay, if you were to lay down a guy who is a true general manager who knows how to scout talent, would be Will McClay. Now, of course, there's a question about the Tristan Hill pick, but in terms of other players he drafted, guys who have potential, I think Jerry likes the guys who have red flags, who kind of come cheap, and he feels that they're a steal. But Will McClay has drafted some quality players for the Dallas Cowboys. So, of course, they're going through players, roster cuts to who they want to keep and based on effort. Of course, guys like Azure Camaro came up, Jaquan Hardy came up, and one Ben DiNucci came up, and we now know the reason why. Of course, we already knew that he made the practice squad last week. We know the reason why he is still on the team, but quite frankly, he should have been escorted out the damn building when he came back for some of those preseason games. Is Mike McCarthy's philosophy is do not give up on a player on their second year. Now, I agree with that. I'm not saying I'm against that theory. The problem is when your player is not improving, when your player is throwing interceptions and playing just heavenly awful against second and third and fourth string guys, that's a problem. I mentioned this when he played against the Eagles last year. Nothing on the page jumped out that said this guy has some type of hitting talent. Nothing jumped out. When Dak Prescott played, I believe in 2016, when he played, that was the LA Rams. I believe it was still the LA Rams because he played in the Coliseum. You clearly saw there was something there with Dak Prescott. You saw with Tony Romo, he was playing in the preseason. There was something there. There is nothing that you can watch from Ben DiNucci to tell you that there was something there. And nothing that you see in this preseason will lead me to believe that there's something there. And something that Mike McCarthy was saying, it's all in his head. We understand that the quarterback has to have the ability. He has to have the mental stability, and Ben DiNucci seems to have none of that. But it's a Mike McCarthy project. He drafted him last year. It clearly was a wasted pick. They need to just move on. I know he's on a practice squad, but put this into perspective. If injuries were to take over this team like it did last year, you guys know that Ben DiNucci can be called up from the practice squad. And this guy we saw in the preseason is not the guy that you want to be playing. Just throwing it out there. We get a very honest discussion from running backs coach Skip Peek with the aforementioned Jaquan Hardy. And he tells Jaquan Hardy, you have no room for error, which is true. You're playing behind first round pick, highest paid running back, Ezekiel Elliott. Another contributor to the team is going to be Tony Pollard. So clearly, and he was a fourth-string running back until Rico Dowdell got hurt. So yes, Jaquan Hardy his back is against the wall. The odds are against him. And I like that it was sound advice. And I swear I like Jaquan Hardy. He seems to be a good guy. And he's told by the coach he has no room for error. As unfair as it might be where Zeke can make a mistake, where Jaquan can't, that's just the nature of the NFL. Stars get infant treatment. But you do like the fact that Zeke is offering to give Jaquan Hardy a hand by telling him, hey, be patient. They were doing a particular drill, and he rushed it a whole too much where Zeke was telling him to be patient. He was coaching him up. Jaquan Hardy was definitely listening to it and receiving information. And on his next rep, he did exactly what Zeke told him to do. So again, you have a kid who has the right attitude. He gives it his all, and he has a work ethic. So that's a good thing, and I really like this kid. We next get to Trayvon Diggs, who won in round 2 against the Cowboys receivers. Because in that previous week, when he told Amari Cooper and Dak that Amari Cooper was not going to catch a single pass, again, I did say that you can edit video however you want to edit videos, but it did make Trayvon Diggs look bad in practice. He was beaten. Those things happen. Everybody has bad practice days, but this guy shook it off. He challenged the receivers again. He was up 3-0, knocking passes down. He had one bad pass interference call against Michael Gallup. So clearly, it looks like that Trayvon Diggs is definitely ready to play. And I like the fact how he lost the first challenge. He stepped up again, and he definitely wanted that challenge some more. So that was pretty cool. Next, we get to my favorite part of the show is the cutest little kid, which is Aiden Diggs, the son of Trayvon Diggs, nephew of Stefon Diggs. And if you go back to the early episodes that he was in, he's a Cowboys fan. He likes Dak Prescott, but for some reason he keeps confusing Dak Prescott with Patrick Mahomes. So I thought it was very heartwarming where him and his dad, they go out for some ice cream. He's telling his dad, hey, what about Dak? Dak is my favorite football player in the whole world. And I thought that was very heartwarming. You see Dak Prescott walking into the ice cream shop, and the kid is still confusing him with Patrick Mahomes. And it's funny because he was so calm meeting Dak Prescott. I mean, me as a grown adult, I probably would have fainted or fell out and asked, for an autograph or something. So, and I say that jokingly, but it was cool the way the kid was just so calm with Dak Prescott and pretty much talking to Dak. He was talking to his dad about, believing in himself. I mean, this kid really stole the show for the episodes that he was in. He definitely gets to play catch with Dak Prescott on the practice field after going for some ice cream. So I thought that was very good. Definitely a heartwarming moment in the show with that cute little kid. Then we get to Dak prepping for Tampa Bay as he's now back to practicing after the mysterious shoulder or lat injury that everybody said he was going to miss time. He definitely jumped right back in there and practiced. This guy truly is a leader of this team. Ladies and gentlemen, when this guy talks, people move because you saw him leading all the sprints, participating in the sprints, and really pushing these guys. And Dak really is the unquestioned leader of this team. He has a good head on his shoulders. He says the right thing, and he works hard. And the respect that he gets from his teammates seems to be rather genuine. There's nothing that seems to be phony about it. He moves these guys. The guys listen to him. He was actually getting the physical training session going. He was calling the sprints. He was telling them, don't cheat yourself. Don't cheat the man next to you. Damn sure don't cheat this team. He was on these guys about sprinting. He was pushing these guys. So Dak Prescott is really the unquestioned leader. He was watching film. He was definitely kind of fine-tuning for Tampa. So he seems to be getting his mind right for the first game of the season. We next get to Isaac Alakone taking his mom to the airport. If you watched a couple of episodes with her, she was as excited as a mom can be on the football field, screaming every single series for her son. We next get to final cuts where Isaac Alakone and Jaquan Hardy, they're both released, but they're eventually brought back as practice squad players. And definitely Jaquan, seeing the talent, Skip Pete really likes this kid. You like Jaquan's effort, especially on special teams. Of course, they go into as a practice player, you'll be able to sit in meetings. You just won't be able to play in any games. You'll receive a paycheck. So at least they have some stability for this season. Well, hopefully they can make a roster or at least make the Cowboys roster years going forward. We get another feel-good story where Azure Camaro actually made the 53-man roster. You see the coaches, they wanted to play a joke on him or they just told him flat out that he didn't make the team. Of course, the first person he called was his mom, who was here from the Ivy Coast, and she actually got to see her son make the team, and he will have his own jersey, because you remember when they were in the Cowboys store, the mom was like, well, where's your jersey? Well, I don't have one. Hopefully this year I'm going to have a jersey. And the Lord answered his prayers through his work ethic, through his dedication, that he is going to have his own jersey as a member of the Dallas Cowboys. So definitely congratulations to Azure Camaro for making the 53-man roster. We get to CeeDee Lamb, who really battled COVID. And, and I mentioned this on our Twitter account, how a lot of players, Connor Williams, talked about this, Zach Martin, CeeDee was testing positive for COVID. CeeDee talks about his situation where he couldn't smell, he couldn't taste, he lost his senses, and now he's back. He seems to be in good spirits. I'm hoping he's ready to go, because, COVID does affect people in different ways, so we hope that he's able. We know he got over it. Obviously, he had a speedy recovery, but we hope it doesn't affect his production on the field. The most important thing was his health, but he's good on that, seems to be good on that. So now we hope that he can produce. So it's definitely kind of interesting hearing, and it kind of brings it back down to reality that, yes, COVID is still with us. This Delta variant is here. And for CeeDee Lamb, who just got off of COVID, Zach Martin tests positive for COVID. Defensive coordinator Dan Quinn tests positive for COVID. So let's just hope, Connor Williams. So let's just hope that these guys, we wish them a speedy recovery, but then they also are able to contribute. Then we get to Zeke Elliott, looks like some type of community service thing. Then we get to Mike McCarthy welcoming all the new players on the team, talking about his experience with the Green Bay Packers. Now, there was something interesting that I saw when he had all the 5 Lombardis that the Cowboys won in the 70s and the 90s, and then he had kind of a darker image of a Lombardi around a sign that says victory, because each letter of victory was in between the Lombardis, and he had one that wasn't completely illuminated, but he had Lombardi that said 2021, and of course, everything starts with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I thought that was kind of interesting. Then you have Jerry Jones, who was watching practice from his office, saying how sharp Dak looks, talks about how Dak is the leader of the team. And then something innocent, he said that yesterday is as dead as Napoleon. And I really enjoyed that statement. And Jerry Jones clearly is not living in the past, especially those early success that he had right after buying the team in the he bought the team in 89. So the early 90s, he had success. And he's been searching for that success ever since. And he knows he's getting older now. Of course, we're all going to leave this world one day, and he desperately wants another Super Bowl. He has come close, 2007, 2014, 2016, 2018, and they just never were able to get to an NFC Championship game. And again, that's why there's always, I guess, this real rush of Cowboys fans to really want to win another Super Bowl, and we have not won one literally since 1995. But you see Jerry, and this is how serious that he's taking it, understanding what he's getting himself into. Again, talking about Dak as a leader. Now, let me say this, getting ready for week 1. Everybody, of course, all eyes of the country are going to be on this game on Thursday. Let people tell the story. If the Cowboys lose, that means we're done for the season. This is only week 1. Even if they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it doesn't ensure them a puncher ticket to any Super Bowl. Now, it does help for seeding purposes. It does send a message. It does build confidence. But here's where we at Chin Check Radio, our memory is very long. Remember in 2012, the Dallas Cowboys played the New York Giants, the defending Super Bowl champion, the New York Giants, and they played them in New York City. And by the way, the same New York Giants that beat the Cowboys twice that year in 2011, the same New York Giants that beat the Cowboys in the final game of the season to actually get into the playoffs, and that eventually led them to winning the Super Bowl, beating the Tom Brady-led Patriots. And that was the second time they did it. The Cowboys was the first team to beat a defending Super Bowl champion on opening night. That was in 2012. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has happened before. But I'm sure you're going to ask me what happened to the Cowboys that season in 2012. They didn't even make the playoffs. I'll say it again. They didn't even make the playoffs. They lost to the rookie sensation of that year, Robert Griffin III. So even if they come out and they beat the Buccaneers, hell, beat the brakes off of them, my response is, so what? It's one game of the season. We're not going to put too much stock into it. We're not that doesn't automatically purchase Super Bowl tickets, but it's a good way to send a message. Conversely, even if they lose the game, it's still one game out of 17. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So I think the Cowboys' focus is Tampa Bay, and rightfully so. But I don't want them to lose sight of it's Tampa Bay, and don't worry about other games of the season. Yes, you're playing the defending Super Bowl champions. Yes, you're playing Tom Brady. Yes, you're on primetime national television where literally all eyes in America are going to be on that game. I get it. You want to come out, you want to send a message. But it's still week one. You have 16 more weeks to go. So that's something I want the team to keep that in perspective. And the reason why I say that, because again, in 2012, they beat the Giants, went out to the West Coast, and got smacked up by the Seattle Seahawks, who, of course, eventually what the Seahawks became with Legion of Boom. So, again, and what's ironic again, they're playing the champs week one on the road. Now, they're going to be traveling out west again. Like they did. They travel out to Seattle, they're traveling out to the LA Chargers, and they lost that second game. So let's not lose sight of the fact that this has happened before. Cowboys on the road playing the defending Super Bowl champions. So they have won before. So again, win or lose, it's only one game of a 17-game season. So we are excited for week one. We are excited to get back to doing our Cowboys reviews. You all know how we feel about it. We like to get the reviews done, win or lose. We watch the games. We definitely enjoy it. So definitely hop along with us, join along, hop on the bus, train, plane, automobile. Join us during our journey of the 2021 Dallas Cowboys. So until the next time, it's Chin Check Radio signing out.